Hello and welcome to another episode of our Brothers Creed podcast. We're talking about motivation, experiences, and exploring the world around us. We're the Thomas Brothers. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Jared. And today we're going to talk about habits that will help you build wealth. And what we're going to do is talk about a couple of different studies that have been done about those who are wealthy, who have built wealth over their lifetime. And what did they do? What are some of those habits? We talk about some entrepreneurs. We talk about just some regular everyday people, and how there's some simple habits that you can take on or that you can practice to be just like these folks. And by doing these things, you can improve your efficiency, you can improve your wealth situation, and in other aspects of your life as well. So it's going to be an interesting lesson. I think I'll re-listen to this a couple times myself to just let those habits sink in because they're very good.
All right, let's do it.
You can't climb the ladder of success with your hands in a pocket.
We will not go quietly into the night.
They tell me you're a man with true grit.
I am the one who knocks. Don't ever tell me what I can't do, ever!
That's how winning is done.
Okay, so originally this episode kind of was all about millionaires, right? We said, what are the habits of millionaires? And then we kind of thought bigger, right?
Well, at first I was like, this is kind of like a Dr. Evil thing. It's like $1 million, and it's like, that's actually not that much money.
Yeah, they're like,
anymore.
Okay.
I'm like, someone working, you hear all the time, like someone working in like a janitorial job over their lifetime, like accumulated like millions of dollars. And it's just like, that definitely takes discipline, but I don't think $1 million is what it used to be back in like the 90s or even before that,
So that's the question. How much is $1 million? If you accumulate $1 million, let's say you have $1 million in the bank, let's say, whatever else. How much money is that, and how long will that last you in retirement? Because really the whole purpose of building wealth, is to create a positive situation for your family, right? But so that whenever you get to that point of retiring, whether that be in your 40s, 50s, 60s, hopefully not 70s, 80s, 90s, so that you can retire and be able to support whatever lifestyle you want to, basically. So how much is $1 million? If someone has $1 million whenever they retire, how long is that going to last them? Well, a couple things. It all depends on geography. If you $1 million living in LA probably is not that much, but maybe
like
$1 million
5 years of you living.
Yeah, but maybe $1 million living in Ecuador is a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
So it depends on geography, longevity. If someone lives, they retire at 60, but then they live to be 108, then it's like, oh shoot, I didn't plan for 48 years of retirement.
Hopefully you weren't doing nothing during retirement.
Yeah, seriously. So next one is lifestyle, healthcare, retirement income, investment risk, and inflation are all things that really kind of depend on, basically affect that $1 million. So the answer is, how long will $1 million last you into retirement? And the average, there was a study done that basically it was an accounting firm and an advisory firm that said, this is, if you live on this much, then it will last you this long. So they said it will last you about 20 years if, basically it says, so if you retire at 65, is the average, with an average approximate income of $50,000 a year, which is not that much, especially in 15 years or in the future. If you're looking in the future,
a 50-year-old person making $50,000 a year, that's probably. That's right. That's middle. That's lower middle.
Yeah,
I would say.
Well, the thing is,
lower middle class.
Yeah, and if you think about us, like if I'm making $50,000 a year in 30 years from now, 30 years from now, 50,000 is going to be like 30,000. And so you got to think about it. So that is, if you are earning, your annual expenses are approximately $50,000. It accounts for 2.9% inflation. Your investments, on average, they say will earn 4% each year. And these are just very basic numbers. And then it says, whatever tax bracket you're in. So $1 million seems like a lot of money, but in today's world, it's not that much. If you retire at 65, then if you skimp for the next 20 years, then yeah, you can maybe make $1 million last and not have to.
And you don't want to live in a kind of retirement like that, where you're having to skip on everything you do, and you're like,
yeah, you want to be running around, you want to be going and visiting all the grandkids, you want to be, going on vacation or traveling or experiencing different things. So one of the things it said is basically they concluded that if you wanted to fully fund that retirement for 35 years, you needed an additional $750,000. So you needed like $1.7 million to make that $50,000 lifestyle last for 35 years. And so it's just kind of crazy to think, like,
that $50,000 lifestyle is.
It's survivable, definitely.
If you're an empty nester, you got all your house paid off and stuff like that, I could see that working.
Yeah, that's definitely. That's not too shabby. But
I met a doctor once. I was at a real estate. Actually, it was like a county real estate sale where they sell properties and stuff in Utah. I went to one just to see what it was about. And I met this doctor. I sat down next to him, and he was a doctor. And he said, "Yeah, I was talking with my financial advisor, and I was like, yeah, I've got, $1.5 million in my retirement." And he's like, after talking with my advisor, I realized that's not nearly enough. That's not nearly enough what I need, because he's not living a $50,000 a year lifestyle.
Especially if you want to maintain a lifestyle.
He's probably living a $150,000 a year lifestyle. And so he wants to maintain that. And he's like, there's no, like, what I thought was enough isn't nearly enough. So he was like, now I'm here at these auctions because I want to get properties. I want to build a real estate cash flow income. And that was his next thing. And so he was starting to build his portfolio doing that.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like, for me, it was, where do I start? And one thing for me was looking at, well, what type of money do I want to make during retirement? What are my estimated expenses going to be? And then how much do I want above and beyond that? And so that gives you a certain number. Maybe it's $150,000 a year. Then you can back that out and you say, okay, in order to make $150,000 a year in retirement off of investments or passive income or actual income or whatever else you want to say, how much do I have to have?
Yeah. The thing is that I think it depends on your definition of retirement. Like my definition of retirement is that, like, well, I'm just doing what I want to do. I don't have to be, if I want to wake up in the morning and I don't want to have to go to work, then I don't have to.
And that could be making money.
Yeah. If you go into Bass Pro Shop, you see a lot of old guys in there. And the reason why they do that is because they want to keep busy and because they want a 20% member discount, employee discount at Bass Pro Shop. And the ammo is expensive these days, except for they probably don't get it.
I don't think employee discount counts for ammo.
Yeah, probably not. But still, people, you got to keep busy. If you've ever looked at, you know what a blue zone is?
No.
So a blue zone is, there's different parts of the world where people have like serious longevity. They live super long, like into their hundreds. And it's really weird because they're usually concentrated into different places around the world. And there's I think 5 to 6 blue zones. And there's a guy who studies these blue zones. And he's got a website about it and everything. It's very, very interesting. He studies why are these people living so long. And one of the things is that they stay busy. They continually engage their mind. I think there's one in Japan. There's one in California. There's one in Italy or Greece, something like that. And you think there's all different types of foods that these people eat. But it really has a lot to do with friendships. Being close to the community, being active, and also being engaged in something, in a work. And so, during retirement, whether that's working at Bass Pro Shop or whether that's, fixing up rental properties or whether that's, just day trading your money or who knows,
Because you have to or because you want to.
Yeah.
It's It's
Well,
there.
ideally, in
mean,
retirement, you'd just be doing it because it's fun, because you
yeah,
enjoy doing it.
that would be my idea of doing things that I like to be doing.
Well, we just podcast. That's it.
Yeah. Making millions.
We're doing that right now. We're basically retired right now. No.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah, I wish. So, yeah, go ahead. Anything else?
No, that was I just thought that was an interesting study that, everybody kind of thinks of this $1 million, quote unquote, air quotes, but it's going to take more than that. And I don't think a lot of people think about that. And the worst thing I can imagine is getting to 60 years old and then finding out, oh, my $1.5 million in the bank is not enough to live the lifestyle that I want to live. Oh, why didn't I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine, because then you have 5 years before you want to potentially retire, or you're going to have to continue to work to create that lifestyle. So one of the biggest things is starting young to try to build that wealth, because time is one of your best allies when it comes to building wealth.
Absolutely. But I think that greater than that, imagine how sad that would be if you get to retirement and you're like, oh, $1 million is not enough. Imagine all the people, and I would say the majority of people in America don't plan for retirement at all.
Yeah.
And they get to retirement, they're like, well, Social Security is going to save me. It's like, dude, Social Security is going to be bankrupt in probably less than 10 years. And like, there's going to be nobody to pay for that. I mean, so it's just like, it boggles my mind how many people get to retirement and they have nothing and they're just going to depend on Social Security. In my mind, I view Social Security as simply a government tax. I don't view it as, they're keeping my money in a special account for me, or I'm going to get that back, because they're not. They don't keep it in a special account. They've already tapped into the Social Security, and they just basically there is no like separate Social Security big account that the government manages with everybody's Social Security donations in it. No, they've already tapped that for other stuff. And we're so far behind on that all these rising boomers that are now going into their retirement years, we're going to be in a serious crunch for us, for our generation, the millennial generation, even in Gen Z, to have to pay for that. And there's a lot, we could do a whole episode on that. So I don't want to dive too deep into that, but definitely what we want to talk about some of the tactics of how to be successful, how to build that wealth. So some of the stuff that I looked at was, I actually kind of went up another tier. I went up to the billionaire status with a B. And I was thinking, these guys are super wealthy. Not just about their money, but I wanted to understand what it is that they do to become so wealthy. What do they do to create the type of habits that put them in a situation where they can do that? So one of the first ones I wanted to share was about, and I really do believe in this, it's planning out your day, planning out your schedule, scheduling your day and your week. And this is something that I've been doing every week since the beginning of the year. This is one of my New Year's resolution goals. Set a record here for keeping your New Year's resolution goals, right? I've been doing it every week. My wife and I, we sit down every week and plan out that week what's going to go on and what our different things are, because I've got a lot going on. I've got we got to record a podcast almost every single week. I've got some church responsibilities. Occasionally I'll got to go shoot at the range. I've got some consulting work that I do, and just lots of stuff.
Kids running around.
Yeah, exactly. Take them to activities and stuff. So this one, Elon Musk, he does it to a detail that's unbelievable. He calls it he has his aides schedule him down to every 5-minute increment. And so he has this like relentless, insanely detailed schedule, and it helps him stay on task. And this technique is called time boxing. And there's a couple people, Bill Gates also uses this technique, and it's the practice of setting a fixed amount of time for each task and integrating the resulting time blocks into your schedule. So what you do is, what this does is it creates a useful limitation of what that task needs to fill. So there's a law called Parkinson's law, which basically says that work expands to fill the time allotted for it. So you need to have deadlines, sometimes self-imposed, especially when you are an entrepreneur, on how long it's going to take you to do a task. So if you schedule out your day in these increments, that will create a useful limitation for you to complete that task.
So it's like saying, if you don't have a schedule for something and you want to complete a task, it might take you 2 hours because you're going to, dawdle here and there, whatever else. But then if you actually schedule the time, then it might take you 30 minutes if you're like 100% involved in what you're doing.
That's why if you ever heard the saying, if you want to get something done, give it to someone who's super busy.
That is true. Because they're going to say, I got other stuff to do. I'm going to sit down, get this done, and
move on. So the next reason why it's kind of beneficial is it removes choice or decision making, and it just in the moment, and you're like, what should I do? Should I do this, or what should I prioritize? It takes all that, and you're just focused on this is what I have to do, and immediately jump in, and then you waste less time because you're focused on exactly what the task is at hand. One of the difficulties with this is estimating the amount of time something is going to take. They've done studies about humans and how sometimes they did a study where they asked people how long would I ideally take to complete this task, and then how long would it take, just normally with non-ideal. And basically they found that all these people rated the different times, and they just basically said the same times. It would take the same time. So people tend to overestimate their abilities sometimes, and especially estimating the task length. So one thing that you can do in time boxing is you can leave a block of time for interruptions or for to complete a task that you didn't get finished earlier, or to an extra space. So leave a little bit of cushion. Basically, it's a cushion block. So leave some cushion into your schedule. Leave some time to BS, shoot the breeze. When you walk into the office, you're going to talk to the guy sitting down next. When we eventually go back to the office, which for me is probably going to be September, right? You said yours is coming
probably
soon
next
too.
year. Yeah, early next year.
So you got to leave time. If you have your block starting immediately this time, and then you're blocked out every single 5 minutes, you got to block out some time to say, hey, how's it going? How's your weekend? Because building relationships is critical. So that was one of the cool things that I found was one of the habits of one of the billionaires. I have some others to share, but I'll share those later in the episode.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk about a survey that was done with millionaires, and this was millionaires that had just broken the threshold, right? Whether it's $1 million or $100 million, and so there was a bunch of different people in here, but basically there was Dave Ramsey conducted. Or his company, right, conducted a national survey of 10,000 millionaires. There's been a couple of things like this. There's some books out there like The Everyday Millionaire or The Millionaire Next Door. There's different things like that where they've done surveys, but this one was recently done 2017 to 2018, so not that long ago. But basically, they had a whole summary of basically what their findings were. I just wanted to kind of review some of the bullet points of the findings. And what's interesting is that me reading these things is it's really not that uncommon. Like you said at the beginning, there might be a janitor out there that is making, $50,000 a year, but he's got, he worked for 50, 60 years or whatever, and he's had a solid saving strategy and some investment strategies and whatever else it might be, and he has over $1 million in the bank. So it's a lot more common than you think. So some of the statistics or the bullet points were 8 out of 10 of these 10,000 millionaires invested in a 401k with their company when they did the match or whatever else, or they were saving above and beyond that. Average years spent working, saving, and investing before they became millionaires was 28 years. So most of them reached this stage of being a millionaire by the age of 49, which is interesting to know. So, there's definitely working, saving, investing for 28 years was the average. 79% of these millionaires, these 10,000 millionaires, received no inheritance. And so, they was self-made. 21.
79%. So that's the 8 out of 10 that. What did you say?
Yeah, 8 out of 10 invest in the 401k. Yeah.
Those are the ones who actually are self-made.
Yeah,
the other ones are just giving it to them.
Yeah, so 20% received some inheritance, and 3% received inheritance of more than $1 million. So that 20%, they might have received, $100,000. Maybe dad died and had a $500,000 life insurance policy, and after everything else, each of the kids got $50,000 or something. I don't know. So I just thought that was interesting that 80% of them are completely self-made. And this is kind of interesting too, because I think a lot of people, whenever they hear millionaires, they kind of zone out and they kind of think, oh, well, that's not possible for me, right? They're like, oh, that's not me. I work, whatever industry it may be. But basically the top 5 careers of all of these 10,000 millionaires that they interviewed was engineer, accountant, teacher, management, and attorney.
So teacher is surprising.
Yeah. I mean, that includes college professors too, which college professors can make north of $100,000 a year.
Management is very vague, but
management's very
an attorney.
wide.
I mean, obviously attorneys make good money. Engineers make good money. Accountants, if you own your own business, you make decent. I mean, but if you're a corporate accountant, I mean, you can make $1 million over a career in corporate America.
Yeah, and so those were the top 5 careers they were making.
I suppose finance isn't on there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Banking or something.
I mean, maybe that falls into management.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know,
Money management, maybe.
Yeah. So a couple more statistics with it is, 31% of these millionaires averaged $100,000 a year over their career. So that was their average for all the years that they worked. They averaged $100,000. 31% of them. A third of them, so what is that? 33% of them, they never had a single year where they broke the 6-figure mark.
Wow.
A third of them never made over $100,000 in a year. Never broke that 6-figure mark, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Last thing here is 88% of them went to college, and 52% of them have graduate degrees. So I just think it was kind of...
So it's interesting. It speaks almost to more... So these are educated folks. 88% went to college. The other percent inherited their money, right?
Yeah.
So it's almost like these folks know how to manage money, but even though a third of them never even made over
6 figures,
$100,000 in their entire career, but they know how to manage money because they're educated. Maybe they got a crazy liberal arts degree in basket weaving, but they're millionaires, so they can do it. And it's just interesting. I think how education is almost more important than what you're making, because if you know how to manage your money, then it doesn't matter.
Education as far as financial education,
exactly.
Obviously career education is important, but even if it's self-education, I mean, there's so much free content out there and maybe it wasn't the same way, 20 years ago, but now there's so much content out there to be able to understand finances.
Well, this is the data scientist in me coming out, but I'm thinking that there might be a little bit of a selection bias in this survey, which is when the group that you're looking at is itself biased by a certain means, because there are people who are listening to Dave Ramsey because there must have been on his website, right? Unless he did, I don't know how he.
Yeah, I don't know how he contacted or found out that these people were millionaires, or if it was just I don't know. There's 10,000 of them, but I mean that definitely probably comes into play. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. That one of the main things that stuck out to me was that it takes time to build that up. Now, there are some people that dumped their life savings into Dogecoin and became millionaires, right? Overnight, but then it went back, and then went back down.
I think Bitcoin hasn't had like a 2-year run that's been less than 500% or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible that you could get rich quick, right? And there's plenty of people that do it, and that's awesome. But I guess, and it's kind of the Dave Ramsey style. Some people love him, some people hate him. There's certain practices and suggestions that he gives that I like. But one of the things is longevity, right? That if you just stick with it and you live below your means and you educate yourself, like you said, and you save, then you can get there and you can get past there. Hopefully to be able to, speed up the process of this building wealth.
Yeah. Invest your money wisely. One great book out there is called The Richest Man in Babylon. I read that when I was in college. Really good book. Short read, but very good. Teaches good principles about money management, about building wealth, about creating a successful money management mindset. So go check it out. The Richest Man in Babylon. We should do an episode on that one. It's very good.
Yeah.
So I have some other tips from the Billionaires with the B section, and these are kind of some other tips that the entrepreneurs and these successful folks do. One of the ones I like is wake up early. A lot of these guys wake up around 5 a.m. every morning. They work out, they meditate, they learn, they prepare for their day. They take time to think, to sit and just let their creative juices flow without any distractions. So don't listen. Sometimes I feel like I need to do that more because I'm so go with everything. I'm trying to take courses. I'm trying to listen to podcasts. I'm trying to learn things, prepare for stuff.
Multitask.
Do so many things at one time. But that's why sometimes when I'm taking a shower, things will come to my mind that will help me with work. I'm like, oh, this is how I need to build that table, or this is how I should do this in Excel. And even though I'm not sitting in front of Excel, these formulas will kind of come to me. It's like a beautiful mind. It's like, ooh, and I'm just like writing on the shower. No, not quite that detailed, but I'm just like, oh, this is how I should build that, or this will be a good visual. And so that's important.
But if you were in the shower and you were jamming to music, then you probably wouldn't have come to you.
You wouldn't have that self-reflection time and that creative time. The next one is recognize that criticism is a part of the journey. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to have a high pain tolerance. You got to be able to stick it out and not give up easy. I was watching a video with Mark Zuckerberg, and he said that one of the toughest times he had was that Facebook was at a point where Yahoo wanted to buy him out. And he said, yeah, we're not interested in being bought out. And he said a bunch of people at the company, this was early days of Facebook, he said that a bunch of the management were pretty pissed that he did that because they were looking for the buyout. And they were like, oh, this idea is not very good. And they didn't have faith in the idea. He said that every single one of those people in management left within the next year or so. And that was a hard thing for them to go through, but they didn't have the tough skin. Like, they didn't have that tolerance like he did. They didn't have that belief in what they were doing. And so you got to be willing to take that calculated risk. And that's kind of my next one, is that if you always play it safe, you'll never achieve anything great. You must take calculated risks. Often the difference, one of the quotes I found that I liked, said, often the difference between the successful person and a person who is not one who has better abilities or ideas, but the courage that one has to bet on one's ideas, to take a calculated risk and to act. Andre Malraux said that. I thought a perfect example of this is with Jeff Bezos, who is one of the richest man on earth. I saw something the other day that said, if you made $180,000 a year from the time that Christ was born till now, Jeff Bezos would still be richer than you.
Jeez.
Isn't that crazy, man? Oh my gosh. So, Jeff Bezos, if you don't know who he is, go look it up. He was working at a high-paying job on Wall Street, hedge fund, D.E. Shaw & Co. So he was working a really high job. This is back in the 1990s. And, I mean, working at a hedge fund, man, he's probably be a millionaire in just a matter of a few years. And I know that his wife also worked at that time. Well, now his ex-wife, right? So sad.
That's a different story.
Yeah. So he felt called to entrepreneurship, and in 1994 he quit his job to start Amazon. Now he's the most wealthy man in the world with $160 billion in net worth. Bezos said, for me, I had to protect myself forward. Oh, excuse me. Let me just restart that. Jeff said, for me, I had to project myself forward to age 80. I don't want to be 80-year-old cataloging a bunch of major regrets of my life. So he looked forward to when he was 80 years old and said, what am I going to look back and say, I wish I'd done this, I wish I had not had done this, or what did I leave on the table? And because of that, he was encouraged to become an entrepreneur and start Amazon, which is arguably one of the biggest companies that there is. And he's become insanely wealthy because of it, because he took that risk and because he believed in himself. So I love that that aspect of entrepreneurship and taking risks. You look at any big multi-billionaire or someone who's really made it in business, and they've had to take calculated risks. That's what it takes.
Yeah. A couple other ones that I kind of thought was really interesting in my research was a couple of those fall into my list as well. But one that I thought was interesting was prioritize your health. Rarely do you see, well, I don't know, maybe I won't say that. I was going to say rarely do you see people that are super wealthy be like incredibly out of shape.
I think you're like, oh wait, Warren Buffett eats a McDonald's sandwich
every single day.
And drinks Coke like they're nonstop.
Yeah, but he's like 90-something years old too. So, another one was build strong teams, embrace your failure. We kind of talked about that. Take your time, love what you do. Always be learning. We talked about that a little bit, and just continuously, finding ways to better yourself.
Yeah.
One of the things I did in not just for millionaires, but just habits of just building wealth in general, was living below your means. Obviously, if you're spending more money than you're making, then you won't have extra money to invest or to save or to whatever your strategy is for building wealth.
My strategy right now is to plow as much money into investments that I possibly can. And I feel like that's a lesson that I've learned from just looking at how successful people do. How they create wealth is by taking that extra money that they have and plowing it into assets that earn them money, whether that's stocks, dividend-paying stocks, or real estate. I've been trying to save up to buy a rental house, or I've got a lot of money in my stocks stocks right now, or I've got some money in cryptocurrencies. And so just doing that is really, I think, what makes a difference. And you're trying to create more of a cash flow income than just your day-to-day job.
Yeah. Some other kind of day-to-day things that the everyday man can do, or woman, I guess, everyday person could do to focus on building that wealth is don't gamble. Read every day. We talked about forget the TV and spend less time surfing the internet. That one was kind of interesting. That maybe struck a chord with me. It's like, man, we just watched 5 hours of TV. The kids went to bed, and now it's time for us to go to bed. It's like, dang.
Well, I don't surf the internet. I surf YouTube.
Yeah.
Ethan's got a PhD in YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah. It hasn't paid off yet.
It's paying off, man. Our YouTube videos look great.
Oh yeah, that is true. That's true. Network, go above and beyond. Avoid procrastination. Talk less, listen more. Avoid toxic people in your life. Don't give up. Get a mentor, and you'll find your way. So.
Yeah, I like that one. Get a mentor. You mentioned that. That was one of the ones I had also. Get someone who's where you want to be, and then listen to them. That's something that I've kind of struggled with in the corporate world, where they're like, oh, let's do a mentorship thing. And I'm like, well, I don't necessarily want to be in this corporate world in 30 years. If I'm doing this job 30 years from now, I'm going to look back and I'm going to have that list of regrets just like Jeff Bezos. So that's why I kind of struggle with mentors in a corporate environment, because I don't necessarily want to be in that situation.
And typically they're mentors that are older.
Lifelong company. Oh, I've been here 40 years. Oh, you've been here 40 years and we're at the same level? Oh, that's great.
That's a different thing.
Yeah. So, Yeah, that was one. The other thing is know how to manage your mood and your mindset. So if you are going to be tough, if you're going to be a tough person, you need to be able to manage your own, how you react to situations in your own mood, and not let external forces, just push you to the wind and create your emotions. You need to be able to control those, and that will be very beneficial to you. Believe in yourself. You mentioned that. And then obsess over what it is that you love. Like just upset. How many baskets did Michael Jordan shoot? How many hours did Elon Musk sleep in the Tesla factory? I mean, I don't know if you've heard the stories, but when they were behind on production of this stuff, he would go to the factory and he would work there and solve all these issues, solve all these problems on the floor, and then he would sleep in his office
on a couch
for like 4 hours, and then wake up and then just work solid, and then for like 24 hours, and then he would sleep for 4 hours on his couch, get up and do the same thing. And he did that for like weeks. And obviously he admitted that he was absolutely like, he's like, nobody should ever do that.
Yeah.
But he had that dedication. He believed in.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a certain time and place for everything too. And this kind of goes into that, like how much you work. I mean, if I did that, my wife would kill me.
Yeah.
And so there's time and place, right? And I think that also goes along with the risk aspect of things. Now if I was a single guy, I would be much more willing to take maybe more higher risk situations because I don't know, there's not as much riding on, I can take care of myself. I go live in a van down by the river and probably be perfectly okay with that, right? But I'm not, it's completely different when you've got an entire family and a lifestyle and kids and everything else, or you're trying to support and everything. I don't know, that there's been a couple opportunities that I feel like, well, I'm not going to do that because of my situation. And I've always been like, well, was that a good decision or a bad decision? Or I don't know, but what I'm just going to put my head down and try to go forward and apply some of these tactics.
Well, I think that sometimes there's cause for like, make hay when the sun shines. I think that's a saying, or like I had like when I was in Mexico, my mission president, he would talk to us and he said, you know what? He was a farmer, and he said there was times when we knew that there was a frost coming, and we had hundreds of acres to harvest before that frost came. So he's like, we worked day and night to harvest that stuff, because if we didn't, we'd be losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so there's a time when that type of action is required. And I think that I think that now with kind of coronavirus and with working in a corporate environment, I think we get used to not having to take on that risk, and we get used to that lifestyle. But I think that part of taking the risk and being that guy who's got to make the big paycheck, but you got to take the risk, is being able to put yourself in a situation where sometimes you might have to work that hard. Now, obviously, nobody wants to work that hard.
It's exhausting all the time.
All the time, and you can't. But I think that when there's situations where, like, honestly, one of the people that I've really admired recently is our brother-in-law, Eric Strebel. His I think it's so cool that he's a chiropractor. He just bought his own building, and he's starting up his own practice. And the way that his wife, my sister, and family and their kids have rallied around him, and they've come together as a family to build this practice. And he's working hard at it. He's there long nights. He's there long hours. He's there on Saturdays, working with contractors because they bought an older building and they have to do some work on it. And so it's a family business that they're running.
Yeah, everybody's involved.
And it's a hard work, and it's not easy. And he's a business owner. And I think that it's so clear that, my sister's like, I understand that. And she's there working right along with him. And I just think that that's so special that you get someone, first of all, you get a couple like that works together in their endeavors, and that you get a wife that's supportive for your business, and that understands that you guys are doing something difficult, and that what's being done is for the family. And I think that if you were in a situation like that too, I think that Caleb your wife would understand.
Oh yeah, for sure. The last thing I wanted to kind of talk about here, this has always been an interesting topic, and Jared and I talk about this every now and then too, but is people that become wealthy because they win the lottery, or they win like
a large inheritance or something.
Yeah, large inheritance, or they win big in Vegas or whatever else. So I looked up some basically some statistics of long-term statistics of lottery winners. Let's call it that. And these are just a couple questions that they went through. There was 2 surveys that were done. One of them was mainly done around Florida. I guess Florida is one of the states that has the largest lottery and the most lottery winnings per state, I guess. And not including national lotteries, but I don't even know if there are national lotteries. I don't know. Basically, the first one is first question was, how many lottery winners go broke within 5 years? How many do you think? Did you look at it?
Out of how many?
Just percentage wise.
I would say 90%.
Okay, that's not that much. Okay, so winning the lottery is good for the short term.
Within
but
5. Okay.
But it says one study of Florida winners found that 70% of them had spent every last dime of their jackpot winnings within 5 years.
Oh my gosh!
Within 5 years, they'd spent every dime of it.
Well, what are the winnings rates here? This is multi-millions of dollars, right?
Yeah, so that's jackpot winners. So, that could be anywhere from a couple 100,000 to a couple million, 100 million.
I'd be hard pressed to spend 100 million in 5 years.
Yeah, but, still, can you imagine winning even $500,000, $500,000, and then it's gone in 5 years?
Yeah, it was crazy.
It'd be easy. You buy. I think one of the statistics, I didn't write it down here, but it said the average car amount, price of cars when people win the lottery is, I guess a lot of people go out and buy cars, is $80,000.
Oh my gosh!
Was the average car price of people after they win the lottery. So next one is, this is an interesting one. How common is divorce after lottery winners? I know we talked a little bit about Bezos and his marital situation, right? But it says, money is one of the top things that people fight about, right? And
not just lack of money, but in this case, massive surge of money. Yeah.
I would have thought that it would have been more, but it said the divorce rate for post-winning increases only 3% compared to the average person. Only 3%, which it wasn't as high as I thought, but still, that's 3%.
You don't want to get divorced if your person's got money.
I guess that's true.
Well, I wonder what the rates are around like people losing family. There's been a lot of cases where people win the lottery, and it's that money has acted almost like a poison to every single person that they love. Because everybody wants a piece of it, and then they want more, and they want more, and then there gets bitter feelings, and then it just sours every single relationship that you have, and then people end up in a bad state.
Next one is, what % of people say that they'd keep their jobs if they won? So this is not even people that actually won. This is people that they just asked people, if you won the lottery, would you keep your job?
I bet nobody would keep their job.
67% of Americans said that they would keep their job after.
Really?
Yeah, 67% of people. I was like, dude, if I won $100 million, I'd be like, peace. Actually, I would wait until the cash cleared, the check cleared, and everything else, the taxes were paid, and then I was like, okay, now peace.
Yeah. Yeah, man, wow.
But then the next question was, how many lottery winners actually stay at their jobs? And it was 52% of participants still had a job or were self-employed after they won the lottery. So, I think some of that number too is kind of rounding back to the beginning. It might be now you start a business that you finally wanted to do, or you start, you win $100 million and you build a blacksmithing shop, and now you're building knives, and then you just sell them because they're fun or something like that. People that, or they work because they maybe get bored. I don't know. Or they
just want to get out of the house.
Yeah. So,
Interesting.
Those are just some interesting statistics around lottery winners.
But the first one's the most shocking.
Oh yeah,
and I think
70% of them spend all their money within 5 years.
And that's a testament to the way that I always thought about the lottery is, and really the argument against the lotteries is that it's a tax on the poor, or really you could say it's a tax on the stupid, because the people that buy the lottery tickets,
poor does not equal stupid though.
Well, yes, but those are two different statements.
Uneducated, probably.
Those are two different statements. It's a tax on the stupid because the people don't understand the odds. The odds are not in your favor. It's unbelievably not in your favor.
The average odds was like 1 in 150 million.
Yeah, and I say, so that's one reason. And I say it's also a tax on the poor because the poor people are the ones that are usually buying these things because they want that moonshot of a chance to get the lottery.
It's almost they're selling people hope, false hope, but hope.
So really, when people who argue against lotteries coming into their states, the argument is that this is an unproportional burden on the lowest level of income people in the state.
But it's an educational lottery.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just like, okay, so we're taxing. So really, if you think about it's just an extra tax on the poor people so that we can have this lottery. And so that's the argument against it, is that the people don't know they don't understand, and they're just wanting to grasp at straws for the chance.
Yeah. I think it comes down to education in the end. It comes down to and even more than that, maybe it comes down to having a desire for education. You don't know what you don't know, and if, like you said, most people get to retirement and they haven't even thought about retirement before they got there, or they're 10 years or 5 years from retirement thinking about it, and then they're like, oh shoot, I haven't thought about this over the past 50 years. And educate yourself. Look it up. Look up. There's so many things on YouTube or just the internet or whatever. Talk to a financial advisor if you want to. But at least have a goal and work towards that goal. I think that is the number one thing that you can start doing today, is living below your means and having a goal and working towards it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think for me, one thing that I would say that I've really taken away from this, aside from one of the things that you've said, is wake up early, plan out your days, and take risks. Don't be afraid to take risks. And like you said, goals. Those are so important. So, we've said a lot here, probably a lot to digest. We thank you guys for coming and listening to us today. We appreciate you listening. And we also, if you can, please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. That helps us get some street cred so that people could say, oh, these guys are decent. We'll listen to them. We've been doing some kind of videos and stuff on TikTok. Ethan's been doing our TikTok master.
And Instagram as well. And so we've been, we got one video, we got quite a few views. It's like 150,000, interestingly enough.
Yeah. So that was pretty cool. That was on our Man-Made Disasters 2 episode, which was pretty cool. We talked about Deepwater Horizon. Evidently, we realized that we are not oil men or oil
rig experts. But we never claimed to be.
We never claimed to be, but there's definitely some people that pointed that out. And we're like, yeah, we're definitely not oil rig experts.
I'll take the good comments with the troll comments.
If you were on the Deepwater Horizon, please reach out to us. We would love to have you on the episode.
Yeah.
And so
this has been a great episode. I think we can really say let's build together towards this wealth, right? I mean, I'm not at the millionaire status yet. I don't know about you, but
I'm so close.
But I'm hoping to get there sooner than later. And I think some of these principles, I know that these principles that we talked about will get us there. We'll get you guys there who are listening or watching. And let's make some of these things part of our creed. Let's build that creed together so that we can become better people.
Let's do it. Thanks for joining, guys.
All right, bye.